there will be kind of an interesting look here to see if Ambrosia can find ways to marginally improve onto their defense and get them going.
Yeah, if anything, it's hopefully you're going to be able to use both Welly and Agrian to get Satellite into those positions, right? But it is going to be difficult to deal against this double controller setup that is being laid by Qbert Academy, especially if you're trying to get Satellite onto like Jenny or something like that and trying to fight through. That's exactly what's going to happen. You're trying to get a position onto pipes here to get an early shot. Nope, there's going to be a smoke blocking your way. You already used your dash, you haven't used your dash rather, but you're already forfeited that space. And it allows you for Qbert to just wait for this smoke to disappear, and then they'll just brute force their way into the site, especially if a knife gets a good hit here towards the back of the site.
And there's the smoke, there's the knife. Knife actually, I don't think gets fully deleted by Welly. Defensive wall, though, goes up. Orb going to be collected, and even though Qbert are making noise and showing force, it hasn't been a full commitment as of yet, but as they do, there's the follow for Ambrosia's defense. Really well done. The Nanoswarm really kind of stopping a lot of that initial play as Qbert are paused backside at, and now backside at A, all the way back to their spawn.
Yeah, just trying to re-hit it right after, but that was actually quite nice by Glyph. Getting away outside of the radius of the knife, and then also Welly not shooting it, so he could still get elevation control here against his opponents. Knowing that it was already a Satellite that was on top of pipes that jumps away, you don't think that there's going to be somebody on the screens. So to get a nice little ambush at the very beginning here for Ambrosia's side, and they're forcing Qbert to plant towards B. There might be a small stall, though, because we're not breaking the... Actually, yeah, we're not breaking the Nanoswarm until now. And here's a clean plant, and we're playing forward, though. This might start looking dangerous, though, especially with Scuba.
Yeah. It may get an isolated 1v1 here. Oh, better than that. All the footstep sounds.
Yo, he's getting all four, right?
Oh, well, he's going to get a couple. Oh, maybe just 1.5. But a little bit of a secondary peek from Knights. Again, tallying a little bit more damage. On the other front, though, you're taking a look at Shondex, seeing if they can find a way to hit some sort of a pinch timing, and that'll work out for one. Shots from Scuba, though, too good for the trade. And now, again, it's down to a 2v2. Spike is way out in the open, but Scuba gets deleted by Welly. And now, all of a sudden, that's Knights. Now it's just down to Scuba, who is in a really miserable spot to try to hold off that defuse. And Ambrosia will take the pistol.
He ended up having a super nice shot, I think, onto Knights there, who was trying to retreat towards green. And as soon as he tries to peek and tries to do a little bit of a damage, he gets deleted, which allows their Ambrosia to have a cleaner defuse towards the end. We just mentioned it. Shonix in this position could do a lot of damage. He already got a pick, did some more damage coming through, but unfortunately, missed comms come out here from Qbert Academy, not identifying that there would be this late lurk from Shonix back from Orange from under pipes. And everything just falls apart here when you're thankfully playing a two-player advantage on the side of Ambrosia on a retake. You should be able to win that round. It got dangerous at some point, but at least they have strong money to work with in the second round. And Scuba, interestingly enough, goes for a stinger buy at the very beginning, but finally drops it for Redux, because you're going to leverage him to try to get entries. He's got this region shield. He's playing an Omen. He could probably TP somewhere and close gaps within the sites here. So you're expecting these double initiator plays from Qbert Academy to allow for him to get that space and see if Qbert could have some sort of miracle with the stinger buy.
Well, 5-man stack. Opening shots from Satellite, not going to connect. Nanoswarm, Poison Wall, just to kind of slow this down just a touch. Defense going to rotate over just a furthermore, but Adrian doesn't actually have any salvos or anything really to work at the moment. Finally get the charge up, but Satellite connects to the first blood. Well in the corner, good for a second. Back to the pistol. That'll work as T-Dog finally gets a trade, but may come a little bit too late. 2v3 situation. Spike is planted. Wow, that is an aggressive peek from T-Dog, and it works out for a considerable amount of damage, but the weapon's just too strong, and Ambrosia will hold.
I mean, look at the HP remaining for Satellite after. He already got dinged when he was trying to fall back, and T-Dog almost went for the miracle run with the classic only. The stinger, unfortunately, was dropped in front of the generator when Redux was trying to cross over, and it was just too far away for any of the last two players from Qbert Academy to be able to pick that up and maybe even convert that on their side, because T-Dog looks like he was feeling himself on that post plant as soon as he got that plant down. But that's now 2 plants in a row. This is going to be a very strong buy going into the next round against the buy that Ambrosia has, because Welly's going to be able to maintain the outlaw within the next round. But those 2 plants here allows Qbert Academy to have full shields across the board. But look at the difference from Ambrosia. 3 players pushing up, already making a lot of noise as Satellite dashes at the top to get early control of this spot. But it's going to be long to rotate back towards the A side. They're going to have to or force a quick retake or already give up that space. If not, I mean, it's A side gone.
Oh, Thrash will come out, and I think that might be some of the resistance for Ambrosia trying to play forward onto A. Defense rotating over. If Welly can find one, maybe he gets the Hunter's Fury to try to help re-clear this, but it's going to be a long play for Ambrosia. You've cleaned out middle, you've cleaned out B long, and this pinch, it needs to move faster than this, and this is taking too long.
And especially now that the Thrash second wave is out as well, they're just in a good spot here to delay even more. And that double flank that we were talking about before, it's way too long.
Timing of that alarm bot, though, not ideal. So there is one connection there for Glyph. But again, this is taking too long from the back. And for the post plan of Qbert, they can just keep focusing on this hit up towards topside rafters, and they've already found the first 2 kills. Now you can turn to deal with the pinch. Yeah, that's just a little bit too easy right now for Qbert. Now again, granted the weapons are not great, but the timing of this play never really allowed Ambrosia to have a chance at this retake.
Yeah, and they're just winning all over the place, and nobody's shooting the Dizzy, which blinded both players towards the back of the site. They thought they had some sort of opening after you just mentioned the timing that Glyph was able to get to run through and drop Scuba, but outside of that, there was just nothing to really push Qbert away from their positions in their pulse plan when they gained it all with the Thrash in the first place. And Roy just talked about it. It's a lot of a rotate or an A-site simulator hit, especially with this composition that you have, I think, for both of the teams, because on both forefronts, the util and the angles that you hold in the pulse plan on the A side, and it's a lot easier for you to move in. But Ambrosia with a tail on the pulse plan on A side is also very strong. So I want to keep an eye on that for Ambrosia on that second half. They just need to continue to forward the gap that they currently have built so far against Qbert Academy.
Well, opening exchange over towards B long. Hunter's Fury to follow, and Welly will connect on this, but that is a key offensive player down. And on top of that, Satellite also scales a little bit deeper on the defense at A. So, yeah, chances at this one, like a little bit more out the window as the stealth drone tries to push out. Doesn't actually connect onto Knights. So maybe a chance to find an angle, but there's, yeah, plenty of support here for Ambrosia to hold on to the B site.
Yeah, and I think it also saw Scuba, even though it didn't get the suppress, but they already have the information that the players are there and now being snuffed out, but the wall saves them for a bit. But you won't really be able to plant.
One enemy remaining.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there's just nowhere to go here. So that works out nicely for the side of Ambrosia's defense. 3-1 the count. And honestly, it's just, you know, that's just raw contact play. We haven't seen much of that over through B, at least not aggressively to this point, but Ambrosia just kind of finally get a chance to use their defensive setup on the B side, and it works out nicely.
Yeah, all thanks to the contact of Glyph. You saw that it was instantly traded in the first place, but it was a selfish play so that you could get value out of the Hunter's Fury from Welly. And that, the stun going into the recon to get the ping on the last 2 players is quite nice. And I respect the timeout call, though, from Qbert Academy's side, because that is probably the first time that they've encountered such a long Hunter's Fury coming in from the A side. So at least you're looking from the setup from Ambrosia. So far within the last few rounds, they've always kind of really set up Welly on this A side. And then now noticing that, you know, Glyph is playing forward positions. Akrian's also there because Qbert Academy hasn't really been met by early salvos to try to push them away. But with that information, you're kind of expecting that Qbert Academy are trying to play potentially like a 2-1-2 or a 2-3 setup or a 3-2 setup. That means that they should have a weak side over towards middle that hasn't been utilized yet. And Ambrosia allows himself to play these extremity holds because nobody's really challenging Shonix's utility on mid. So I wonder now going to the later rounds for Qbert Academy when they have weapons to work with. Are you going to try to, especially with Redux, you're playing double controller, Redux should be smoking out the boiler so you can start inserting some lurks, pull out some rotates, make it a little bit difficult for Ambrosia to really anchor up towards these sides. So you force them to play the flood retake, and the flood retake has always been in favor of Qbert Academy in the pulse plan.
Well, scattered by here, as you would expect for Qbert, just 2 Stingers and Sheriffs to be added to the firepower here. And it looks like Qbert may try to get some sort of presence established over through yellow. For the time being, though, Satellite is here, feeling a little bit of maybe anxiety, has the dash queued up.
Not anymore.
Knife will reveal this. There's the play over the top, and Redux, good control. With the dark cover plus the teleport, they find a freebie. And now Ambrosia have to kind of very rapidly rotate over to try to deal with this.
I mean, it kind of shows as to, oh, okay, it was the first time we saw this type of composition coming out from Sentinels into VCTs. But now it's like, oh, this is just practice runs against Qbert Academy because it's almost a similar composition with the exception of a Teo instead of a KO on the side of Nismo and John Cutie. But the TPs on yellow got so much value for Qbert Academy for the opener onto Satellite.
Well, here comes what looks to be the execution on to be. A little bit of spray coming through from Broish's defense, not connecting though. The wingman will get to work. Oh, nice little double peek coming out from Qbert. Plus Knights
So nice.
is finding long-range shots with the Sheriff. That'll work out for 2. And I just don't know what you do here. I mean, you're in a 5v2 situation. You've lost weapons already. And yeah, the credits aren't necessarily bad, but you've got a couple of the teammates that may not be able to afford. It just comes down to, ooh, Vacrian could find some sort of an opener because he does have the Armageddon now. Salvo first. If you can find another, maybe a chance at this. Welly not going to give up on the angle yet, but yeah, Qbert is not going to give them a chance to find, well, you would think anything more, but now Welly's found an elimination, and that makes things maybe more interesting, but no, not enough time to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I respect if you really want to try to go for it when you've dropped a player early in the very beginning, but you see that Cliff has nothing left. They need these weapons to carry over to the next round here so they can get some trades and some buys. Only Acreon survives, but it's still good enough. Shawnex and the rest of the crew should be able to still purchase. And even if Acreon buys a bit of util here, he may be able to drop something that's not a Vandal, but at least could muster up something here for the side of Qbert or Ambrosia. That said, though, a simple protocol to try to take down Satellite, and that manages to take down Satellite towards yellow. And the only thing you had to do was wait for the second wave for the Toxin to come back up. You go for the Flood exec with the knife and the mollies to push him out of positions. But the double swing coming out of the wall was something that was unattended for the side of Ambrosia and really threw them for a loop. So you ended up having a nice little bonus round out from Qbert Academy. And now you have an op from Satellite.
Knife has already come through. Satellite stuck here at the moment. Wingman, flash comes out, but Satellite holds his ground, finds first blood. And that's just one of those moments for Qbert. You're sitting there like, hey, we're throwing some pretty decent clearing utility at this, and we're still not getting out of position. On Armageddon comes through to give Satellite a second chance, and he connects. Oh.
Okay. That was nice from Redox to run behind the Armageddon and just fight back against Satellite to not really allow Ambrosia to run away with the man advantage in the very beginning. So a big battle about to come up here from the lurk of Scuba. But let's say he doesn't want to fully commit yet. He wants to wait for his team so they could maybe go for a high-low off the rope in the orb. But Welly, if he's playing this solo in a 1v1, he should be able to win it. But now you have 3 players grouping up. Might be a little bit more difficult now.
Footsteps come through. Here's the first check. Wide is the running peak for Redux. No chance for Welly to hold his ground. So now the Viper's Pit coming through almost as a desperation measure, trying to push back this Qbert offense. And it will work out. 25 seconds on the clock. Yeah, they're going to teleport over to B. Everyone else is going to take the long route, and that should be a free plant.
And look at what they have here on the Pulse plant. They still have a pit for the B side and a Paranoia. This is going to start looking difficult here for Ambrosia. You're just hoping that the salvos are going to come back up fairly soon by the time you make it back into the site.
Can also maybe toss in a couple of nanostorms, try to clear some of this out.
Yeah.
But here we go. Presence has been found. Paranoia comes out. Redux stepping forward, finds the first, but trade is there. 2v2 situation. Scuba, though, yeah, just lurking inside his own Viper's Pit, or at least in his teammate's own Viper's Pit. Can find the easy double up, and that's going to be now tie game 3-3 with the Eco exchanging hands favoring Qbert.
And at first, I was questioning the scaling that we were utilizing for Qbert Academy to move towards that B site. You went for the wingman instead of throwing even the Dizzy towards the air to really force out the opponent out because you already threw a knife in the very beginning. That maybe could have made things a little bit more cleaner for Qbert Academy to fight and for that control towards that B site. But the reaction off the Armageddon was actually quite nice on the side of Acreon to allow Satellite to get that second pick. Outside of that, though, the mid-rounding was just great calls. Heads up by Qbert Academy. The chess match that came through, the TP to move towards that side of plan towards B. Everything was superb for Qbert Academy when they played the mid-round, especially with the double swing to initiate and engage Welly towards that A site. So I think it's only normal that you're calling this timeout now for Ambrosia because you're starting to lose control here of the macro play.
And the interesting thing is, like, they're still finding first bloods. It's just the follow-up is not quite there in terms of how are we using our numbers to stop these plants from coming down? Because honestly, there has been essentially a spike plant in almost every single round that we've had to this point. And I think that needs to be the conversation point if you're Ambrosia of, we're doing well in the first blood battles. We're finding numbers advantage, but we're still allowing plants to come down, even in the face of having a Tejo, a Killjoy, and a Viper. So we just got to be better, I think, about just what we want to do to kind of suffocate space. And in this round, again, off of the poor eco, it'll be knives and some quick play over towards the front, but Satellite doesn't even come close to hitting anything. And now Acreate just playing a little bit of a timing peak will at least get one in response. Yeah.
Yeah, old man still's got it for the side of Nismo. I don't even know why I call him old. I'm like probably double his age still, but nonetheless, you're gonna stop the bleeding here from the. Oh wait, okay, now you're gonna start the bleeding, unless this Marshall. It does a 101, but now that he's escaped, everything should be fine here on the pulse plan. So I just want to talk about it in the next round. You just mentioned it before here, Shift, in terms of what Ambrosia could do in the mid round or whatnot. Is I think it's just really trying to understand where their weak points are, and when you have these weak points, you kind of maybe have to start playing a little bit more soft. What I mean by that is Welly, when he got challenged here towards the A site, he was holding that solo when they already had like a 2-player advantage to kick things off with Satellite for the kills with the op on that B side. And when he gets challenged at that spot, while they lose all that space, you're forcing over rotates to happen. And yes, maybe they haven't been as successful going into flood retakes for the side of Ambrosia on that previous map. But so far on Icebox, the pistol round retake was quite good because you had to retake on a 5 versus 3. So retaking on player advantages comes back in their favor. They just need to keep that number up. And right here, for example, you're seeing that Glyph is holding solo towards that B side. Now he's starting to fall back. He's already calling back towards the default spot. You see that the other side too. You have Shondex that's jump spotting inside the pipes. So they are playing more soft side at that point and trying to find the mid round information. I like this, at least from how they're approaching their macro this time around.
Yep. But new challenge comes through. A little bit of a forced issue at mid. And Glyph, I will say, is relatively lucky to be alive. It looked like the opening shots were going to be guaranteed a first blood, but not the case. We stay 5v5. Yeah. Stealth drone will re-clear out towards green. And Hubert, this killing of the noise will have to eventually lead to a commit as Ambrosia have retaken most of the map.
Still both Vipers playing against each other for that combat in middle, hitting it virtually at the same HP.
Here comes the contact, Nismo for the first. And now Knights can get right back to work over through mid. And this timing, oh, so deadly. Welly denied from being able to pop the Hunter's Fury. Hubert finding every single kill over the top of the B site on top of that. And yeah, there's just nothing Satellite can do besides run away and try to hold this op.
So you see where it falls apart. So when they first get the contact of a push down towards pipes, and the jump spot came from Shondex, and he saw, I think, at least like 2 players down. But Hubert actually had 3 players trying to fight for mid control. So you start moving some players across. You see that Glyph is moving towards that spot. They have a beautiful, 3 players trying to crunch in at that moment. But you're not playing as soft there on that B side. I mean, maybe you got unlucky as soon as you went for a jiggle, you got immediately deleted. But you see how everything falls apart after. Everybody's getting caught knife out on rotates, caught rotating back towards Snowman because Hubert's moving forward. You don't have util to play ahead because you already lost Welly off the rotate. So it just all falls apart here on how you're playing the pulse plant towards the end for Ambrosia if they're losing the space that they're supposed to create at the very beginning.
Well, after a strong start for Ambrosia, things are really starting to turn here. And the issue is your Hunter's Fury got called in that last round right as soon as he died, so you only have the lockdown to work with. On the other side of things, though, for the offense, Thrash is back in the action, which you would assume means there's going to be play over towards B, but Satellite really well done with the stealth drone, kind of in combination of the aggressive play allows Ambrosia with weakened utility and armory to still come away with the first 2 kills.
And to not sound like a broken record, let's just see how this round is going to unfold now that you're playing a 5 versus 3. You have the orb that comes up. You could still smoke the turret. You could start setting some sort of fear here, instilling fear into Ambrosia. That might be able to convert a nice little Thrifty.
Yeah, looks really nice here for Ambrosia. This is exactly what you need to start kind of combating the last handful of rounds, change the patterns of the trends, and show us that, yeah, you are still getting a good read on what exactly Hubert is doing.
Player standing.
Nice couple of trades here, but Redux has nowhere to go.
Thrifty.
And that will be enough for a thrifty round for Ambrosia. Big utility and economy boost for them coming in this round. Well, although they don't actually pick up the weapons that were on the ground by the look at barracks. And yeah, they still have to purchase a couple of things. But still, I think just kind of showing that you know the Thrash is in play. You don't want to allow T-Dog to get that off their B. You set up something aggressive with the sensor drone, and that works out nicely.
Yeah, definitely. And now they have great ways to counter into, you know, the Thrash to get the first wave of util out on the side of Qbert Academy. From the looks of it, it might seem like you might seem like you're trying to use the Thrash to try to clear out towards B, or unless you're using the KO to knife out for information. But they should be okay so far here for Qbert Academy to really get a good B side hold, because once again, it's Goof playing solo on the B side, and that's where he got punished at this spot on the top of B heaven before. I think that was a swing coming out here from Nismo. This time, no punish.
Yeah, that would have been an amazing first blood for Glyph. Guardian just not able to finish the job. But Satellite, another quick route, takes down Knights, and then the follow-up spam from Welly is good. So now you've got the plant down, but a lockdown is through for the defense. Attack will try to counter with one of their own. Venn diagram over the top of the B site. Snake bite down. Satellite still trying to play off this pinch. Has to wait for the lockdown to expire. Nismo with the check, and Satellite will punish. Now the numbers, 5v2. The only real ally here for Qbert would be the clock, but yeah, Redux. Wait a second, he was detained and he's still finding kills, but eventually too many numbers to deal with, and Ambrosia will tie us at 5.
How the hell was he detained at that point?
No idea.
At least somehow still survived, yes indeed, but I was actually questioning the ult. Ambrosia had an early farm on 3, and Shondex is actually ulting, and I thought at that point it would have been a good call in the mid pivot from Qbert Academy to say, look, let's try to avoid not only the lockdown, but you already know that Satellite's on that flank. So technically, you could have some sort of protocol that allows for you to triple swing in and fight this aggressive angle coming out from Satellite. And unfortunately, it's just Nismo that's peeking out of there at low HP to try to battle against his opponent there, and it gave it here a chance to get to put Ambrosia on a 5 versus 2 situation after those lockdowns went down. So you almost funneled everybody into Satellite, and you would have lost all that space towards the A side. And thankfully, though, there wasn't a better mid-round call coming out from Qbert Academy, and Ambrosia are able to stay within this fight.
Yeah. Important round here, though, seeing who can take the late half momentum. And yeah, I think you're able to see some information. Follow-up, though. Wow, what a bold peek that is. And just simply put, connects the one tap, changes things up, but Satellite in trouble. Only has the clouds available to try to get away, but Knight's able to confirm the response, and that turns it to a 4v4 early.
And Armageddon's available for Acreon, though, so him staying alive is good, but the only thing is that you can't trap into the B site anymore. 1, because you're too far away, and 2, there's no util or aggressive pushes coming out from Glyph that allows for you to activate with the Armageddon. So you're going to start using that for the retake here. So you see how passively they're playing on the side here of Glyph. He's playing all the way back towards Snowman, trying to peek potentially off the Snowman itself to try to look back towards green. But if not outside of that, you're hoping that Qbert Academy, if you're a fan of their attack side, to not play back on a post plan towards green. You have to play within the site. If you know here and you're hitting tab, and you know that Acreon has the Armageddon to work with, and look at their position, so they are ready to fight this.
Spike planted.
Well, the plant is through. Keep your eye on Shondex, who's on the long lurk, but this post plant being set up over towards yellow is going to be difficult to find. Armageddon going to come through, but everyone's going to be able to stay alive through that. And on top of it, the double peek comes through and allows another kill to come out. So now it's just down to everything from the front here. 3v4 situation, probably 3v3 situation. But the long peek from Knights forced out by utility, but Scuba just inside, good for 1. Waiting for another to try to possibly cross over through the dark cover before it expends. This is just taking, again, there's a lot of time for Ambrosia, and Scuba gets away, and there may not be enough clock to work with. I don't know how Scuba manages that. He's dealing with the smallest of corners in a dark cover that was about to expire and still finds 3.
Remember last map when I said Scuba is one of the best controllers that I enjoyed watching back in 2021 circuit with the Pittsburgh Knights Academy moving into today? that's the reason why he was one of the best controllers. Now switching over into a Sentinel, but then utilizing Redux' smokes as if he was still playing controller himself. And the multi-kill that he's gotten inside Knights' pit on the pulse plant before, the 2K that he got that allowed Cuber to get 2 rounds so far, because Scuba is just the kind of player. The reason why I'm still flabbergasted that no tier 1 team has picked up so far in the VCTs.
Well, Redux starts off the last round of the half with the first blood. And again, just to kind of mention it, this was another one of those sides of the map that you look to Ambrosia and say, they have been good. But this has been their biggest test at this point. Nice shot from Satellite, just barely able to find the top of Scuba's head. And now with the combination of the operator, a chance to still put some presence here at mid.
They still have good util as well.
Well, Battle for Tube comes out, and the respect for the remaining knives, and more importantly, the operator, will have Cubert resetting and looking to go A.
Not enough fuel.
I'm just surprised here that we're not leveraging smokes yet from the Omen to try to force some rotates across, weaken out the sites, as I was mentioned before. Smoking out Boiler or smoking out the turret could really keep those players anchored down towards middle. But Ambrosia is still deciding to play soft. They're playing a 2-2 setup, forced to play the retake. They don't really have the best ults to work with either for to allow this retake to happen. And after that ult coming out on the attack side, they know that the A side's here for a plant.
Real salvo will come through, and it does connect. It's onto the spike planter. I don't know if there was just too much smoke to know where those salvos are coming from or what, but
10 seconds.
that's enough for another kill to come out. And now numbers for Ambrosia. All the fall down. Good information from Akrian, but only gets the first. Satellite floating, but suppressed, and oh, this could possibly lead to a huge mixy battle right on top of the spike itself. Redux, Nismo. Well, really it is Redux, last one left. Spam shots work out, though, to take one off the spike. And now he's dealing with the 1v2 situation. Does he see Satellite over the top? He does. And now it's just out of the 1v1. Shondex has to play forward. Over the ropes, finds the kill. And the foot race to get back will have him have plenty of time for the defuse. 6-6 will go the half.
I thought it was going to happen where Redux is going to have a highlight reel with a huge clutch for the last round here for Cubert Academy, but you're playing against Shonix, somebody who's been consistent so far for Ambrosia throughout the last series, and winning that 1v1, drop it, making noise, forcing your opponent to swing against you, and Shonix gets the most important kill so far for Ambrosia to tie up the game 6-6. He's only 4 kills on the scoreboard, has gotten the most crucial one so far. I'm surprised here that Knights died to salvos. I don't know if there was it was on the top of green and he didn't really see it. Or top of the site. Yeah, unlucky. That said, though, 6-6 scoreline, it's not too bad, but we talked about how this composition for Ambrosia should be very good here for the post plant, especially on A site hits. Although Ambrosia are leaning towards B to start, this should be, I was going to say maybe Akrian I thought was going to invest into a drone to try to find information. Okay, it's Welly instead. So Welly goes for the drone. He's going to try to clear that out. They might get punished, but at least would allow for them to pivot back into an A site quite easily. Oh no, what are we doing?
Oh, we're just peeking it out, right? And now all of a sudden numbers are going to come through here. Cubert looking for more. Knife is out. That does not get a reveal. And there may be a line in the sand here, but no. Cubert are still just going to push forward. Good sheriff angle here from Shondex. Willie also playing off a corner. This works out nicely, but Cubert just not showing any respect here, Vancillion. Still just going to try to force the fight backside at A, and they will win out the gunfight, but the spike will go down.
This is where the kid is good, though, for the Teo. A 3 versus 1, we've seen, I was going to say many, but mainly Trent being able to win in these scenarios, but I don't know if Akrian's going to have it against T-Dog, Scuba, and Knights, moving all together from screens.
Definitely has stuff to play off of. But the longer this takes, the more Cubert will get a feel for where exactly he's positioned. There's the salvo out. T-Dog back on for the defuse. And yep. Well, it's not really T-Dog, it's his wingman. And that'll work.
Yeah, that'll make it difficult for sure. And that's the beauty of Cubert Academy with this composition as well. But dude, what do we do towards that B side? Was there some sort of way that they felt that Cubert Academy was going to play solo towards the B site, that they thought that they had some tape? Because we didn't even drone. All we went for was a special delivery, unless it was a recon dart that was thrown at the same time. But it was a special delivery, and you're trying to dash forward to try to punish the player in the back of Gray. And then suddenly he's greeted by 4 players on the side of Cubert Academy, and you have this death match that happens in the back of Spawn. And of course, it's Cubert that comes out on top in the end, and it's really difficult for you to try to win that 3 versus 1. You see how Adrian kept looking behind, thinking that there's somebody who's going to flank behind the whole time. So yeah, you're playing with 0 utility, 0 information, and Cubert Academy already with a man ahead in this round and their anti-bonus.
Stealth drone seen. Also, all of the offensive utility coming out for Glyph. Going to be notified as well. Defense going to back up just a touch here. Respect the utility, but they don't get the angle from Satellite, who gets us to a very critical 4v4. Post plant's going to look pretty decent here as well for Ambrosia.
Yeah, so far so good. They still have the Marshall to work with 2 on the long range from Belt. The Teo's still alive. Teo's dead.
Shots, trades, pinstripe kill feed. Yep. Now it's just down to the defense trying to create enough space to hop on for the defuse. Knights will get on for halfway, but Glyph finds one. Now Knights has to make a decision, and just a couple of shots going to come through, and the last Marshall shot will connect. And we'll be tied at 7 after a thrifty comes through. That's a huge lifeline for Ambrosia early.
Yeah, and it got close. It got close towards the end. Knights was about to defuse that spike going into that round, but thankfully, yes, that buy that you had coming through from Sheriffs to Marshalls, not even once again going for a stinger buy after a plant on the first round, was intriguing for me, to say the least. But thankfully, these shots land because of Satellite's position. No scoping with the Marshall. Getting that hit towards the end was lucky. You got to count your lucky stars because Knights had his own wall up. But Ambrosia has a chance here to start taking a lead here on this map. I was laughing a little bit because he didn't have the tail util in the pulse plant, which should be your winning condition when you have tail in your comp. But thankfully, Ambrosia salvages it, and bad start.
Scanning ahead.
Orb collected. Knights checking and punished. Yeah, it's one of those things that you're just trying to find contact. Maybe like you hear the orb and you're trying to see if you can catch him on the exit. But yeah, Ambrosia not going to get caught slacking here. We'll go 4v4 early.
If anything, though, this is what, the second time that Ambrosia are kind of really slow defaulting towards B main and they get first blooded. I wonder with how the results have been going for the second half that you just might want to start pumping your way towards the A site every single time, because it is a lot easier to really get into the A site. If you're looking at the composition that they have, like, you don't really need to sage wall. You just try to find your timings. You get the salvos across. You try to get like maybe an attack, a cloud burst maybe from Satellite, and that's already good enough for you to have a safe plant towards the A site.
Oh, this will be one of those, you hope the 2-2 split can work out. Good flash coming out. Welly off the reload, still connects onto one. Isolation of the trade is decent. Nanostorm already spent. Sentry turret just getting to work, being a little bit of a bodyguard here for the defense, but time is running low. Salvo out. Snakebite also at the ready. Everything for this post plan in terms of utility is designed to work, and it works. Put it plainly, Ambrosia able to find the edge here in round 15, up 8-7.
Yeah, and they were just trying to cover up the belt at least. And I like that idea. Instead of just smoking the spike and smoking the diffuser, you know that they're playing pulse plant and very far back on the side of Ambrosia, so you're just throwing it one way towards the belt. Nobody can really set up a fight here from that side. You're stuck inside that smoke, and then you're focusing those 2 players on 410 and bottom Jenny to fight towards belt. And the unfortunate thing here for the side of Cubert Academy is you only had pistols to work with. So thankfully, it was around converted quite easily here for Ambrosia. But the story might be different now that you have weapons for the side of Cubert Academy when you have these type of retakes that you can try to do. But you're definitely seeing it here. Ambrosia trying to fight back towards the A side and pivot quite quickly. Everything gets stopped by a KO knife at first, and now by bullets from Redux. Drop in Welly, which will remove a lot of the scan util, if not all of the scan util, outside of the stealth drone that they might have left for Ambrosia here for a hit.
Oh, I see the pings being, I was about to say,
Crazy
down for
shots.
Ambrosia, as if they're just trying to, pop the wall, show force, see if they can pull the defense. But that win for Hubert now makes this very comfortable for the defense, or does it? Do they have a read that Ambrosia have kind of snuck their way on to A? They may not, but
moving.
this sound cue will give them the information, just no one committing into the site.
I mean, at least it made it back to safety.
True. Gives him a chance, but T-Dog instantly going to try to get the utility on for, well, this is more than halfway. Oh, boy. Wingman MVP, by the way. A very anticlimactic finish to that post plant because it looked like Ambrosia had really gotten away with one there, but Wingman too strong. Please nerf.
And you have to thank both initiators actually in that round for Hubert Academy. First, starting off with T-Dog, that pushes both players away. But while he does that, Nisbo throws the knife onto pipes, and it actually hits both players. It doesn't allow here for the salvos to get activated by Ikrian to deny, at least one player trying to bring it to halfway. And by the time he is not suppressed anymore and throws out the salvos, because he's even further back towards the A nest, it takes a little bit more time to travel towards the spot where they planted, and it becomes a free defuse, full defuse before even Windman falls apart. And that's Hubert Academy denying here the... I mean, you say nerf Wingman, but you should also nerf Teo in the pulse pipe. It's kind of annoying to watch, after like 2 months.
That's fair. Small memes, Van Silly, small memes.
True.
Very, very,
So
very
Wingman
tiny.
1, Teo 0. Let's keep that count.
Valid. Well, this round, a critical one here. Both teams fully invested, fully purchased. Hunter's Fury at the ready for the offense. Lockdown close, knives close, Armageddon close. Other side, Null Command at the ready. T-Dog kicks us off for first blood. Knife to follow. That's going to reveal 2, make it 3. And yep, if you're Ambrosia, you're 50 seconds already left on the clock. You really can't fiddle around with killing noise. You're going to have to commit to something. And it may be off of what Shondex can grab out a kind of solo mission into A.
I think right now, what Shondex should do is sell that fake towards that B site. Glyph has to stay alive because you need the second wave, his toxins to come back up. And then maybe you could start opening things up with the Hunter's Fury. When you're able to do that right after, then you can go for a plant. Then you have Armageddon, salvos, and that should be the game plan. So the mid-round call is, Shondex, what can you do?
Found them.
Well, so far, not much. Yeah, the read onto Ambrosia. Looking pretty decent, but this route may work out for Shondex, but Scuba holds his ground nice. That's a spike carrier down. Oh, and there's just not enough time, you would think, for Shondex to manage this, especially with the defense already reclaiming the zone. Tried for it, pops off, finds another kill, but now there's not enough time to plant. And Hubert will take a 9th round for, I'll say free, but Shondex is making them pay for it just a touch. So both teams going to be hit pretty hard financially.
Yeah, I would have liked for Ambrosia to kind of just stay on that site. They already had a stronghold towards the B site. You're running into 0 information. Yeah, I understand because you haven't really made it towards that B site yet, that you don't really know if KJ has the alarm bot set up towards that B site, or you haven't really worked down towards that middle, so you don't know where the KJ set up. But instead, Scuba had the perfect read. All of that util was towards A. They had the perfect delay with alarm bot Nanoswarm over towards that side. But if we actually just waited for the toxins to come through and then, again, utilize Hunter's Fury to enter towards that site, and then Shondex becomes the rotate cutter, I think that could have been maybe something here that Ambrosia could have come out of. But, I mean, that's the grace that we have as spectators to be able to see where all the players are positioned at, and you're just trying to think what would be the best avenue because we see what's happening on that map. But it's definitely very difficult for somebody like Glyph here IGLing in these moments where they're losing a lot of these early map controls on the extremities at first and trying to call a good mid-round.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's just another one of those rounds that just kind of falls apart where you least expect it to. And I think that's kind of the next growing pain for Ambrosia, as we're kind of labeling it out based on what we saw in map number 1 and more importantly what we've seen here. It's the mid-round, right? I mean, compositionally, they've started to kind of cook something up, and they've taken a couple of teams by surprise. I think their map pool is starting to get a little bit more dynamic, a little more flexible, but you're very right. Against the top teams, you just cannot afford to be this misguided in like 3v3s, 2v3 moments. You just got to be a little bit more competitive, and Hubert have definitely had an edge there.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a very bad start for Ambrosia. They called the timeout, try to salvage something out of that, and immediately as they're trying to find information off a scan. They peeked too early on that belt, and you saw the TP from Redux and a nice little shot.
Right here.
Now, thankfully, though, you're playing soft side for Qbert. You're trying to play retake because you have KO ult and a pit. But that might give a chance here for Ambrosia to really get a good position in the post plant.
Yeah. Well, suppression comes through. Lockdown is in play, and Ambrosia are just going to stick forward onto this, seeing if they can just keep Nismo on the ground. They're also trying to see if they can find a couple of exit eliminations, and yeah, really good stuff here from Ambrosia on this execute. Knight's still hanging around, though. And honestly, so is Nismo. Okay, finally he drops, but say maybe there's a chance if you can get him back up into the action, but now it's just down to trying to get deeper, and yeah, there's just still more nanostorms to have to deal with. This defensive wall is going to run out of toxin.
Yeah, they win.
Yeah, I agree.
Fury, Armageddon. There's no way you're winning this round here for Qbert Academy. But I just still like the idea behind Qbert. When they actually position themselves to play outside of sight and play soft is they just wanted to try to flood as soon as the spike went down so that you don't give a chance here for Ambrosia to really get in better positions after the pulse plant. There's no, counter util that would allow for the planters to get back to safety. And maybe they could have capitalized on some shots. But I love the reaction coming out from Shonix right after. Immediately throws down the lockdown. Now forces the hand of Qbert Academy to be a little bit more proactive and quick because you only have that 7-second window to fight with to get those trades. And the protocol or the fundamentals to high-low swing, the way that Ambrosia did on the post plant was very, very clean. So I think now you're starting to see here Ambrosia, despite some small mistakes in the mid-rounding, still have some good fight in this map.
Oh, here we go. Hot action immediately in towards A. Welly trying to create space for Satellite to work with the knives. Stealth drone out. Qbert given up the site voluntarily. There's the paranoia. Good reveal on the flip side of this. Still allows Flip to get your first one.
Go ahead.
Still not enough comfort here to get the spike down, so you're going to get the Armageddon out. This could get weird, but nice teleport from Redux, at least initially it was. Not able to dance with death for too long, though, as Ambrosia continued to just rip things apart here on Icebox. And yeah, this will be a flawless round for Ambrosia to get the double digits.
That small little dub that you take from the side of Qbert Academy, you wasted out both the Armageddon and the Hunter's Fury in a midpoint of this game, round number 20, where you're getting really close to the last few rounds of regulation, and the ults are actually starting to cycle a little bit better on your side for Qbert Academy, where maybe you might be able to finish here the series in a 2-0. But it really comes down to this huge swing round for Ambrosia. They have good economy to work with. You have on a set of Qbert Academy the first time that you pull that or not, so a very expensive buy going into this one as well, where I wouldn't be surprised if you're trying to go for a pick. So you're trying to force players out towards the B site for Redux to try to get a pick here with the operator, but I don't know if Knights missed the jump. So the pit never came out and he's stuck down at the bottom of 410. So that gives a window here for Ambrosia to work with.
We'll see what the execute's going to look like here for Ambrosia as they are stacking up, looking like they want to try to at least give this a go. Stealth drone first.
Oh, he missed.
See Knights in the corner. Oh, that's so punishing. Just doesn't look left, doesn't scan all the way. And so Knights will get a first blood. And that changes things dramatically here for Ambrosia as follow-up utility gets tossed over the top, but Satellite still able to catch up to this moment. Welly also isolates Knights. So numbers advantage now for Ambrosia, but T-Dog trying to break a bit of a timing, playing forward, eventually pushed off by the special delivery and the shock dart. Follow-up. Trade still coming through, but Ambrosia with the numbers, and Shantex high to low takes care of the last two, and Ambrosia get themselves to 11.
Good on Ambrosia to recuperate themselves after that small little mistake by the drone not spotting Knights at the top of pipes. You saw here after that pick, they overextended their stay on the side of the defense because Knights popped up the one-way smoke. And that's what I was mentioning before, something difficult to deal with when you're playing against Redux as an Omen. They're doing similar things here with Knights with the Poison Orb. But that said, they stayed out in the open, they stayed behind the smokes, and Ambrosia were able to just punish them right after and isolate those fights. So I like that at least, and they're going to capitalize that round into this fight. That changes, though.
Love this out of Qbert. Again, just playing with a weakened economy. Yeah, Redux will get one, but will not be able to get away. It does give some good map control early here, though, to Qbert. You don't know what's behind 410 at all if you're Ambrosia. And then on top of that, you still have Sheriffs that could pack a punch over towards this B long play if there is a peek over towards green.
Yeah. All you got to do is slow things down for Qbert Academy. You still have, sorry, for the side of Ambrosia, the drone to work with, though, to see if there's going to be more players moving across. So I like that we're trying to gain that space. And the knife gets thrown instantly, too, so they know that the KO is playing close on that side. So after you now started pulling rotates on this side, it's now up to Shondex to try to find info towards the A side again.
Yeah.
So very similar to what we saw before. It just now depends if, yeah, now you're moving a little bit more quickly with more time in the pocket instead of 20 seconds left where everything sort of fell down into shambles.
But look at Qbert here, Vancilli. They're getting a prediction on this. Yeah, now they know.
A lockdown in pit, using it.
Why not? T-Dog will get a chance at this, but maybe misses a window. Mosh Pit will go down to block off the default plant position. Green is still going to try to hop up over towards Jen. Smoke to keep him covered. There will be a detain onto him. Is there any sort of a follow-up is the question, and no, there's not. Instead, it's Satellite who finds the first blood of this follow-up fight, and then stepping a little bit deeper. Really well done. Knight's the last one left. Still with the Sheriff, but not able to find Shondex on the corner, and Ambrosia gets a map point.
Seems like there was a small moment where T-Dog was maybe looking at it at his mini-map because he was out in the open, Crosshair was there, and he should have had that shot on the player peeking through towards Jenny. And maybe off these comms looked up and then just missed that shot, and that could have been the shot that would have allowed here Qbert Academy to start anchoring up the way that they did, investing in those two ults, by the way, to try to salvage and win the 30 back in their favor, because you mentioned it here, Shift. The read was good, the pivot was correct, and they still had a lot of time to work with on their side. When they used the lockdown with 20 seconds left, you're forcing your opponents to really stress out and maybe fumble and make some mistakes if you're able to drop that spike here in the first place amidst the chaos of the lockdown. But thankfully, Ambrosia, you still have Satellite at the tip, able to open things up, anchor things down for the side of Ambrosia and put themselves at map point. And a possibility to push this into the third map. So both teams so far looking quite pristine on their map picks. And although the match is a little bit closer in the second map compared to the first one, but they are finding some good successes on how they're playing this so far for Ambrosia.
You can see the timeline. Has not been much to talk about here for Qbert. The pistol, a follow-up in 16 plus a gun round in 17, but since that point, they have really been stumbling, trying to find really any opening success in these first blood battles. We've seen a lot of it come from Satellite. I mean, 22 and 17 gives you an indication he's having a good game, obviously, but the opening first blood fights have looked good for Ambrosia. Qbert trying to maybe play around with a different timing here. And if Redux peaks, maybe, but there is a crossfire setup waiting for this peak.
Yeah, comes down to the turret and also on T-Dog. And if not, off the orb when it gets popped here on the attack side.
Yeah. Bold play. There's a reveal on the Knights. Still able to hold his ground, though, behind the wall. Finds one. Trade this out. Redux thought about the paranoia. Puts it away. Now that they're cover. Trying to just hold off any quick play. But now Redux will be isolated. Yeah, the team shot's just too strong. And a 4v3 here for Ambrosia. Trying to put this one away.
I love the slowdown for Ambrosia there. So popping up the smoke, walking through and walking back, thinking that somebody was going to push down, and he immediately punished Redux.
Small timing thing there for Scuba, only sees the foot. Same can be said for Nismo. But they get a good look here with 30 seconds remaining on where Ambrosia's headed.
30 seconds left.
And you've got a full utility belt here for Nismo. That knife will reveal that everyone is here. Fragment's still at the ready. Double flash is still at the ready. Little bounce off the wall. Thrash in the mix. Scuba's able to find the first. Hold on a second. This is still very doable here for Qbert. 15 seconds remaining, and Qbert, they've got a good place of contest to make sure the spike doesn't get down.
10 seconds left.
Could use the salvos.
Oh, what a flash. What a peek. And what a round for Qbert. A 3v4, and they flawlessly cleaned it up.
Oh, man. And it looked so good for Ambrosia on how they defaulted around the map with the B side control, dropping dropping Knights in the first place on that B side. And you were mentioning Redux had that paranoia procced up just so that he could assist Knights here. If Knights was able to escape, paranoia comes through, he could swing for a second time and go for a pick. But they had a great buddy system coming from the side of Ambrosia to start things off, to re-hit towards the A side, but Util was still too good. We talked about those ultimate economies that were starting to go in favor of Hubert Academy a couple of rounds ago. And finally, the last ult that's left allows for them to really close that gap and maybe even close the first or the second half and push us into overtime. As you see here for the rest of the teams, it's Broja still has a bit to work with before they proc up some very important ults.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Again, just trying to play for information off those little jump peaks, but Satellite ready with an operator, and that is off to the races for Ambroisia's attack. And there really are not the same amount of tools here for Hubert to try to stop this spike plant, although that is some decent damage onto Acreon, and they will find the kill on the exit, but the Viper Spit is down here for the post plant.
That's huge. Armageddon and Salvos are down. They can actually flood retake this for Hubert, and it's hard to hold with Satellite with an op only as well.
Yeah, damage spam coming through, trades come out. Shondex, good read down low. Scuba, the last one remaining for the 1v3, has found the first, but is down to minimal amounts of HP here, with the decay becoming a major problem. There's the toggle. Scuba stepping forward. No, Glyph meets him with the classic, and Ambrosia take a 13-10 win on their map selection to send us the distance for a full 3-map series.
Great job from Broja once again in terms of the first bloods at the beginning of these rounds on their attack side.